students, I am Kanishka teacher. Today we are going to discuss about the topic blood and its functions. When we consider the human blood circulatory system, it consists of three main parts. One is the heart, which acts as the pump. The second one is the blood vessels, which carries the blood away around the body. The blood vessels are arteries, veins and capillaries. And finally the blood, which is the transport medium. Blood is a complex tissue and it has both the liquid part and the solid part. The liquid part of the blood, we call that as plasma. The plasma takes 55% of the blood. The solid particles of the blood are red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets. As I mentioned earlier, the plasma is the liquid part of the blood and it mainly consists of water. The functions of plasma is to carry the blood cells around the body, and it carries the dissolved nutrients, hormones, carbon dioxide and urea. And the plasma distributes heat around the body, so it is important in maintaining a balanced temperature in our body. Then the red blood cells. You can see the structure of red blood cell here. It is a biconcave and disc-like structure with no nucleus. Red blood cell is made in bone marrow and destroyed in spleen. The lifespan of red blood cell is around 100 days. The function of red blood cell is to transport oxygen. To perform this task, red blood cell is having some specific structural features. The first adaptation is its containing hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is an ion-containing protein which associates with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin when the oxygen concentration is high in the surrounding. We call this as its loading oxygen. And when the oxygen concentration is low, the oxyhemoglobin turns into hemoglobin and it unloads the oxygen. The red blood cells load oxygen when it passes through the lungs and it unloads the oxygen when it passes through the active tissues. The other adaptations are the red blood cell is not having nucleus so that it can carry more hemoglobin. The next adaptation is the red blood cell is small and flexible so that it can squeeze into the narrow capillaries without getting struck. And finally, its biconcave shape is giving a large surface area to volume ratio so that the diffusion is going to be more effective. The white blood cells. White blood cells are also as same as red blood cells in the size of red blood cells, but they are containing a large spherical nucleus. There are two main types in white blood cells. One is phagocytes and the lymphocytes. Both of these white blood cells are going to protect our body from bacteria-like pathogens. The phagocytes destroy the bacteria by taking them in. They do this by changing its shape. They have a sensitive surface membrane that can detect the chemical which is produced by the pathogenic cells. So they enclose the bacteria and form a vacuum. Finally, it secretes enzyme and breaks down the microorganism, the pathogen cell. In this figure, you can see how a phagocyte is destroying a bacteria. The next type of white blood cell is the lymphocytes. They destroy the bacteria by producing antibodies. These antibodies kill the bacteria-like pathogens. The bacteria-like pathogens do have a chemical maker in its surface called the antigen. The antibodies will stick into the antigen and they kill the pathogen. In this figure, you can observe how a lymphocyte is killing a pathogen cell. Then finally, the platelets. The platelets are not actually the cells. They are the fragments of cells. They are made in bone marrow as like red blood cells. The function of platelet cells is to help doing blood clotting and prevents blood bleeding. When the skin is broken, the platelets secrete a chemical which turns the insoluble soluble fibrinogen into insoluble fibrin. This fibrin will form a net-like structure across the broken skin, so that the red blood cells will be trapped inside that, so that it will stop bleeding and eventually the blood clotting will happen. In this figure, you can see how the platelets are helping in blood clotting. It's changing the soluble fibrinogen into insoluble fibrin. Now I hope you have understood the structure of blood and its functions. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe.